It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Hey, good morning and welcome to the Travel and Cruise Industry Podcast on this, the second day of January 2026. Welcome to the show this morning, folks. Of course, today's show is coming to you from my studio in Forest, Virginia, and it's brought to you by Will U.S., the owner of Scoot Around, and by chilliescruises. Got a few news stories today. It's not overbearing news stories, but we've got a few. The lead story this morning, folks, I found interesting. Facial recognition on cruise cabin doors. I have a couple concerns about that. Also this morning, Nieuw Statendam Searches for Guest Overboard Near Cuba. That search has now been called off. Also today, a guest claims missing treat ruins New Year's. Also today, Breakaway changes New Year's Day itinerary. Eurostar services return to normal after major channel tunnel disruption. Princess ship sails in Rose Parade. And illegal animal abuse videos found. That and lots more here at 11 a.m. this morning. The first show of the new year. The first show of a transition year for me. Most of you know I'm going to be moving in February. I'm going to go on the Grandiosa cruises, the back-to-backs, on February 4th and February 7th and February 14th. When I get off the ship, I'm heading for Louisville, Kentucky, which will be my new digs. All right, guys, today is National Cream Puff Day. To me, this is as good a day as it gets. I like cream puffs pretty much in any form or fashion. You even go into the eclairs and anything in those families. I love them. This day in history, in 1974, President Nixon signs a bill lowering the speed limit to 55 miles per hour to conserve gas. Some of you that are my age remember that well because you were driving then. Yes, I was driving in 1974. Unfortunately, I did not really take care of things like I should back in those days. I tended to have a bit of a heavy foot. As a result, I did some tickets over the years before it finally dawned on me to cut that crap out. And that's when I started using the speedometer thingy, where I set it 5 miles over the speed limit and just let it go. And I sit back and I enjoy my driving. And I've been using that now for, wow, I'm going to say the last 20 years. Anytime I'm on a highway, I have it turned on. So, no more speeding tickets for the old fat guy. All right, if you're listening via the podcast, you're always welcome aboard. You can access the podcast via my blog, which is accessadventure.net, or wherever you get your podcast from. Just search for travel and cruise industry news, and up pops the old fat guy. All right, once again, guys, welcome to the show this morning. before we get to the news and a feature, let's take a quick break from one of my fine network sponsors. And yes, folks, I'll be right back. All right, everybody. So before we get to the actual news, got a couple things from Katie and Angela. That would be Katie. This is on Royal Caribbean's Red Night. That's Angela, of course. They were in St. Croix. I've not been to St. Croix, I don't believe. I'm not recognizing the statues, at least. I may not have been to St. Croix. And this would be Katie drinking a coconut. I've done that many times. I do like fresh coconut. All right, one other thing, guys, just to point out this morning, and folks, I make absolutely nothing on this, but some of you are interested in the group travel, especially for the disabled. And here's one where he's offering some money off. $200 off on accessible full trip packages, $500 off on all escorted group trips. And that's from Sage Traveling. One of the things that surprises me about Sage is not that they do group trips. I mean, there's several companies that do really good group trips for the disabled. Christie does some. There's several companies that are just really good at it. I was surprised at the number of trips Sage does every year. Look it up. Pull it up. Get his whole schedule for the year. I'm amazed. And they are, they're done extremely well. Yes, they're a little more expensive, but for those of you that need some help, need some assistance, it's the way to go if you're not crazy enough to do what I do. So check them out. Sage is a good one. My friend John Morris is another one. Christy Durso, Wheel the World. They all have really, really good trips. And check them all out. They're all worth. They all do it well. I'd recommend any of them. Corey Lee. Anyway, if you're interested, folks, in that type of travel, by all means, call me and I'll be happy to recommend somebody to you. All right. Let's get on with the news portion of today's show. It appears, Nestor, that we're going to start talking about a different facial recognition.
For most cruisers, the most exciting thing about a cabin door is opening it for the first time on embarkation day, and closing it behind you. That moment marks the official start of a vacation. However, Royal Caribbean may soon make cruise cabin doors far more interesting. A newly revealed patent suggests the cruise line is exploring advanced smart door technology that could allow guests to unlock their cabins using facial recognition. A smarter cruise cabin door. Technical illustrations from the patent, particularly figures 5A and 5B, show that this is far more than a traditional cabin door. Facial recognition camera. One of the most notable features is a wide-angle camera, labeled 512, designed to recognize a guest's face as they approach. Once identified, the system could automatically unlock the door, eliminating the need for a CPass card or wearable. Digital peephole functionality. The same camera could act as a digital peephole, transmitting a live video feed directly to a guest's smartphone through the Royal Caribbean app. This would allow passengers to see who is outside their cabin door, even if they're relaxing on their balcony or elsewhere on the ship. Backup access option. Royal Caribbean also appears to be planning for reliability. The patent includes a keypad, labeled 522, that would serve as a manual override, providing a Plan B if facial recognition fails or guests prefer not to use it. Challenges and privacy concerns. While the technology is intriguing, several hurdles would need to be addressed before it could be implemented fleet-wide. Facial recognition systems must function reliably in varied lighting conditions and accurately recognize guests wearing sunglasses, hats, or other accessories. Preventing false positives would also be critical to ensure security. Beyond technical challenges, privacy concerns and guest acceptance may play a significant role in determining whether this technology becomes standard. Cruise lines would need to clearly explain how facial data is stored, used, and protected to gain widespread trust. For now, it remains unclear if or when these smart cabin doors will appear on Royal Caribbean ships. But the patent suggests the cruise line is actively exploring ways to modernize and personalize the onboard experience, starting right at the cabin door.
My question is on this, folks. I can appreciate having the facial recognition software, similar software to what we use to get on and off the ships now in most cases. I wonder, however, how long it's going to take the cruise lines to figure the height of the facial recognition software in the door for those of us in wheelchairs. That I can't look at something that's up there that would be, the same height of Hot Air Tom. Or would they put two in the wheelchair accessible doors so that a person in a chair could get in the room as well? That was the first thing that jumped out and grabbed me was, okay, because I've seen the dragging of the feet with the push buttons or taps on cabin doors. Let's see how they do with the visual. Okay. Nestor, how about the Nieuw Statendam?
Nieuw Statendam is currently involved in a search operation after a guest went overboard north of eastern Cuba in the early hours of January 1st. The cruise line confirmed the incident and stated that a review of onboard security footage indicates the overboard event appears to have been a deliberate act. The guest has been identified as a 77-year-old woman, though no additional personal details have been released. Satellite tracking data shows Nieuw Statendam reversing course and conducting a zigzag search pattern north of Breakaway, Cuba, toward the Dominican Republic. At the time of the incident, the ship was scheduled for a sea day while sailing from Amber Cove, Dominican Republic, to Key West, Florida, the final port of call on its 7-night Eastern Caribbean itinerary. The vessel had spent New Year's Eve docked in Amber Cove and was originally set to arrive in Key West today. Depending on the duration of the search efforts and instructions from authorities, that port visit may be delayed, altered, or cancelled. Nieuw Statendam is scheduled to return to its home port of Fort Lauderdale on Saturday, for guest debarkation. Any further itinerary adjustments will be announced today. Holland America Line has not released further information about the guest, citing privacy considerations for the individual and any accompanying family or friends. This approach is standard practice, particularly while an active search and investigation are ongoing.
And that search was finally officially called off early this morning. So it was on its way to Key West. There was not a notification of what time she would be arriving in Key West. I'm assuming that time has changed, but I have got no official notice on that one. All right, Nestor, let's move on to the next one.
From special dinners to festive drinks to decadent treats, food is an important part of the holiday season for many people. But would missing out on a treat spoil a New Year celebration? For one Carnival cruise guest, the answer seems to be yes. The guest took the time to prepare a special homemade treat, only to have it confiscated at the cruise terminal for embarkation. Unfortunately, it does not matter what sailing a guest may be on, and holiday cruises don't get exemptions to Carnival Cruise Line's prohibited items policy. The policy clearly states, due to concerns for food safety and contamination prevention, any food items brought on board must be pre-packaged and unopened. Homemade items or pre-cooked foods are not allowed.
I absolutely love them. But I know not to bring any homemade cookies on a cruise. You just don't do that. You're going to lose them, folks.
Norwegian Breakaway updated its planned visit to Puerto Plata on New Year's Day. The ship arrived and departed 1 hour early to accommodate rough weather on its return to New York. As this is the final port call on the itinerary, no other destinations have been impacted. Ring in the new year with exclusive deals. We're offering huge rental discounts to close out the year. You've got less than a week left to save in our most popular rental locations nationwide. Book by January 4th. Rental can take place anytime within the next 90 days. Orlando 20% off. Use code ORL Holiday. Valid until the 4th of January 26. Las Vegas 20% off. Use code LV Holiday. Valid until the 4th of January 26. LA and Anaheim 20% off. Use code CA Holiday. Valid until the 4th of January 26. San Diego 20% off. Use code San Diego 20. Valid until the 4th of January 26. 15% off in popular locations like Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, New Orleans, New York, Phoenix, Seattle, Tampa, and Washington, D.C. Use code HOLIDAY15, valid until the 4th of January 26. Book online today, or call 1-888-441-7575. Use SRN 11137. Eurostar and Le Shuttle services between the UK and France have resumed through the Channel Tunnel after major travel disruption on Tuesday. Thousands of passengers faced hours of delays after Eurostar cancelled most of its London to Europe services due to overhead power supply problem and a failed Le Shuttle train which blocked all routes. Repair work took place overnight and rail services through the tunnel in both directions resumed on Wednesday morning. Princess Cruises celebrated the new year with a Star Princess float in the Rose Parade. The float celebrated the debut of the new ship and her inaugural Alaska season. The impressive display featured over 300,000 flowers and other natural materials. A former guest aboard Carnival Cruise Line's Mardi Gras has been arrested following the discovery of illegal content on his cell phone during the disembarkation process. The passenger, identified as Anthony Ridings, was stopped by U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers while going through routine screening after returning from a Caribbean cruise. Authorities reportedly flagged the individual for further inspection due to suspicions of illegal digital content on his mobile device. Upon examining the phone, agents discovered multiple videos depicting adults engaging in illegal acts involving animals. Such content is considered a form of animal abuse and is prohibited under U.S. law. Ridings was not taken into custody immediately following the discovery. However, he was arrested several days later on New Year's Eve in Daytona Beach, Florida, and now faces 15 charges related to animal abuse. While officials have not disclosed how authorities initially became aware of the suspected illegal material, cruise ships are known to monitor and flag certain unlawful online activity when guests use onboard Wi-Fi networks. The exact sailing has not been confirmed, but records suggest Ridings most likely disembarked from Mardi Gras when the ship was last in Port Canaveral on December 27. The case highlights the role of border authorities and cruise security measures in identifying illegal activity during the cruise travel process. Carnival Cruise Line has not issued a public statement regarding the incident.
My question is, Why didn't they arrest him on the spot? I didn't get that one off. The information that I got on you guys all know that I check stories before I put them together and write them and produce them. And checking on the back end of this story, I discovered that he was in fact interviewed. But why wasn't he arrested on the spot? That one I don't understand. They let the guy go. And then he was arrested 2 days later in Daytona, or what we assume was 2 days later. I'm not 100% sure that it was off of the Mardi Gras. I'm assuming that it was. Just a little bit odd, I thought.
Royal Caribbean's Legend of the Seas was voted most anticipated new cruise ship. It was the third year in a row that a Royal Caribbean new build was chosen for the honor. Norwegian Cruise Line's Norwegian Luna came in second place. When she debuts in July 2026, Legend of the Seas will feature the well-received Surfside neighborhood designed especially for family fun, and the Category 6 water park, the cruise industry's largest water park at sea.
Cruise around the world with the Will Model C2. That's the chair that I use. Our chairs will easily fit through accessible cabin doors and can navigate those tight spaces and crowded places. To see if Will may be right for you, click on the link below to schedule a test drive. Just tell them to use code CHILLIE for all your mobility needs. That's scootaroundstore.com.
All right, guys, that's going to put an end to the news portion of today's show. Let's jump over to the chat room, see if anybody's with us today. There's Steve out in Kentucky. Hey, Steve, says good morning to everybody. Hot Air Tom says, I have that on my cell phone. He's talking about facial recognition. And the phone likes to say, face not recognized. This could be an interesting new problem for the compliant posts. Yeah, well, I think what they're going to do, Tom, is it's going to be well tested and probably tested in small sections before they, try to roll this thing out. But we'll just have to wait and see. I'm looking forward to it. I have no problem at all with facial recognition with TSA. None whatsoever. It's made my life a hell of a lot easier this past year. Bob's with us. Good morning, Bob. Always good to see you. Says, have a great weekend, everybody. Gary Older Than Dirt is here this morning. Hi, Gary. Says, Happy New Year to everybody. Let's see, where did we go here? Did I lose something? Hot Air Tom says, my stone blast procedure is scheduled for next Friday at 9 a.m. Sorry about that. I'm not sorry about that, Tom. I hope it goes well. Sonny's with us, says hi and happy 2026. That's fast getting a blast procedure, Sonny says. But be careful and go to the ER if it gets bad. Yeah. Joanne's with us, says Happy New Year to everybody. Todd's here, says good morning, y'all. Hot Air Tom says, Ken says they have 5 feet of snow and it's still coming down. He has not left the house for 5 days. Yeah, well, 5 feet of snow would be a little hard to leave. Sonny says, wow, poor Ken. Hope he gets out soon. Chillie, you done with infusions? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was just, that was done the Tuesday before Christmas. That was the third and final one. And it's not a thing you read until they'll do blood work and stuff on me like the end of the 28th of January, something ridiculous like that. The end of the month is when they'll see if it worked or not. I mean, I hate to tell them I'm not going to be here after that for any more of their stuff. But Gretchen's with us, says, good morning, everybody. We have a whopping 4 inches. Well, that's 4 inches more than I have, Gretchen. We got none. We've had some cold weather, but we got no snow. We had the one little snow that lasted a couple days. There's Kenneth. Says, sorry I'm late. Happy New Year to everybody. There's Roger down in Jacksonville. He says, good morning from I-295. Stay safe, Roger. I learned while on hold with the urologist that we are located in the Stone Belt. Who knew? Virginia's the Stone Belt? I didn't know that either, Tom. Sorry about the cough, y'all. I was not aware of that either. So, all right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for the weekend. It seems kind of strange to do a show, and now I'm going to be off all weekend. I was just off yesterday. Well, I'm normally off the day before. This isn't any different. It just felt different because it's a holiday. Sonny says, please hit the thumbs up button. Thank you, Sonny. As always, I appreciate that. And as always, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, think about cruising. Hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas. Have a great Friday, y'all, and a wonderful weekend. I'll be working a lot this weekend, packing the house stuff. But I'll be here and I'll monitor the news in case anything happens. But it's going to be a busy weekend for me. All right, guys, that's it for today. I'll see everybody back here on Monday if I don't see you over the weekend. That's it. See you next time.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you'd like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, chilly chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.